Welcome everyone to the regular Planning Commission meeting. Tonight is September 5th. We will start tonight with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Randy Hughes. Can I get a roll call, please?
Commissioner Anderson,
Present.
Commissioner Carranza, Commissioner Heath,
Present.
Commissioner Hughes,
Here.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Here.
Vice Chairperson Keen, here, Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Here.
All present.
Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, please?
Also motion. I'll second.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear who did the first on that.
Commissioner Heath.
Oh, thank you. And second by Hughes?
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza,
Yes, indeed.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Keen,
Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you. We'll move now into the public comment portion of the meeting, which is reserved for persons who wishing to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on this agenda that we may have jurisdiction on. The speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Please state your name for the record before making your presentation. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to make a public comment on something that is not on the agenda tonight? Okay, we'll go ahead and close public comment portion of the meeting and we'll move on to the consent calendar. Can I get a motion to approve this consent calendar, please?
I'll make the motion, please.
I'll second.
Commissioner Schmidt,
Yes.
Vice Chairperson Keen,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes,
Motion passes 7-0.
thank you. We'll go ahead and move into the public hearing portion of the meeting. For the following items, the public will be given the opportunity to speak. After staff report, the chair will open the public hearing and invite the applicant or applicant's representative to make any comments. Members of the public will be invited to provide testimony to the commission following the applicant. Speakers should state their name for the record and can address the commission for 3 minutes. After all the public comments have been received, the public hearing will be closed and the commission will discuss the item and take appropriate actions. We'll move on to item number 2, which is the Grand Oaks Paseo project. Do we have any disclosures of ex parte? We'll start with Victoria down to this end. Any ex parte?
I do, yes. My 2-year-old daughter and I decided to bike up to Grand Oaks Paseo today and we wound up knocking on a couple doors. I wasn't successful. I was looking for folks that dog art in their front yard with the Given project. Didn't have anybody home, but I did run into one of the brokers. And I have the name right here, Marco Caracas, and he's in the audience. So.
Okay.
No ex parte.
Right, Randy.
No ex parte.
No ex parte.
No ex parte.
Greg?
No ex parte.
And none for me as well. So we'll go ahead and turn it over to staff for their presentation.
Thank you, Commission. So this item refers to amendments to the common amenity spaces for the Grand Oaks Paseo project. The project, as many of you know, is located just north of the San Jacinto Center along El Camino Real as you approach San Anselmo. So a little bit of background on the project. It was approved in November 2019. It did have a custom plan development overlay zone associated with the project that allowed for the subdivision into small lot, single family cottage style developments that allowed for individual sale of the units. Construction did begin in 2020. About 50% of the units are complete to date. They did have some COVID challenges and supply challenges through those that year or so. And then they did use some of the project revenue for other projects that they were owners on. And so they are having limited resource issues right now and need to amend their common amenity space. So their requested amendments or revisions to the central common area, which is where the one existing large oak tree is situated up towards the center of the project, and the elimination of the community building that was planned along the El Camino Real frontage next to the live work units. They are replacing these with patio benches and a tree planter. So this is the approved master plan of development. So you can see that central open space area in the center of the project ringed by the cottage units. That is where there were two very large existing oak trees. One of those oak trees has currently died and been removed due to construction impacts and drought-related impacts. There is one remaining tree. And then that you can see the community building along El Camino Real towards the north side of the project. And that is proposed to be eliminated with this amendment. So this is the revised plan for the central common space. You can see that remaining oak tree sort of in the center of the space with some mulch and some movable seating around that area. They did have an arborist review that existing oak tree, and it is in a state of decline. So there are minimal things that can be done under the drip line of that tree if that tree has any hope of surviving. They also eliminated one of the cottage units during construction. They kind of felt that it would be a little bit too crowded with an additional unit in there. And so that new patio space is actually in the footprint of where one of those existing units was going to be built, which was approved as part of the original master plan. So they do have a new patio space proposed. I know the applicant has a couple amendments to some of the features that are kind of shown there and some clarifications. From what we see, there's sort of that like a fire pit table with some movable furniture around there, some barbecue areas. The fireplace is not being proposed by the applicants, and I'm sure they'll come up and speak about that. And then they have some additional seating off to the side. We did add a condition for timing of completion of that space. There are enough units around that space that are complete where this space can be installed immediately. And so prior to final of any additional units per our condition, they would need to complete all improvements for this common space. This is the revised area along the El Camino Real frontage where the community building was eliminated. You can see there's kind of a large central planter area with a proposed tree in there. They also have sort of a dog run area, it looks like, and what looks like steps, but those have been clarified as additional planter areas. And then some fixed benches around the outside of that planter area. Staff does have a couple conditions related to this space as well. We are conditioning that it be raised grade from the El Camino sidewalk. The original community building was going to have steps up to make the space feel a little bit more private for the residential units. And so we are conditioning that they maintain that situation with this revised plan. And in terms of timing, we have conditioned that they complete this area prior to final of the last of the cottage units, which is units 22 through 26, or with completion of the live work units, whichever comes first. So to conclude, the central common space revision is to account for the deleted unit and the tree condition, as well as some amendments based on the neighborhood input. The community building is no longer financially feasible for the applicants, and they are looking to replace that area with something else. And we have tied the revisions to the completion of units as a commitment to the neighborhood and the city. I did want to point out that this was the amendment that the applicant will be discussing and proposing. They do not have a gas fireplace proposed. I believe that was a barbecue area instead. It was just not labeled very clearly. And instead of 2 barbecues, they are proposing 1 barbecue served by propane. Staff is recommending that any sort of fixed gas features be served by natural gas, so that the HOA does not have to constantly switch out propane tanks for those uses. And then they also have a proposed amendment to eliminate bollard style lighting from the El Camino frontage amenity space, and instead just specify low level lighting to allow for some flexibility there. So staff is recommending that the Planning Commission review the proposed changes and make any modifications to the conditions of approval as necessary, and adopt the resolution amending the master plan of development to revise the common open space plan and place timing restrictions on completion of those amenity spaces. As always, the Planning Commission has a few alternatives. You can make any modifications to the conditions of approval. You can ask for additional information and we can return at a later date, or you can deny the project. Denial must be based on one of the findings listed in your resolutions. And denial of the project in this case, as that is financially infeasible, may result in the project not moving forward. And that concludes staff's presentation. We're available for any questions.
Thank you. Questions? Dennis?
Yes. With respect to the community building, in the future, was that to be maintained and owned by the association?
Yes, that's our understanding.
And then with respect to this area, they will be responsible for broken furniture, broken whatever that happens.
Yes, that's
within
correct.
that. So has there been any financial assessment that has been established at this time about what the replacement value would be on
I
these?
believe that they have to do that initially as part of establishing their homeowners association documents through the Department of Real Estate. I do not know if they've gone through a process of reevaluating what these improvements might be related to those.
So then as far as them working with the state, then they'll determine through that process, the life of the chairs, the life of the barbecue and those type of things. And then you had recommended, or staff had recommended, serving the barbecue pit with natural gas versus propane. Then the HOA is going to be responsible for the payment of the natural gas.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I got a quick question. Has there been an assessment as far as what the financial difference would be? I'm assuming that the HOA fees would be compensating for maintaining the community building. And with that not being there, there's probably a difference in the financial assessment as far as one may cost more than the other. So I'm wondering if there's been any assessment on how that would affect the individuals who live there for what they're paying to the HOA.
We don't have information about that at this time. The applicants may have done that assessment. I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you.
Questions down here? Victoria?
Push the button. Okay. There was some notes that I had read. One of them came in an email from the HOA board member and resident around, I know this wasn't in the presentation itself, but I'm hoping staff could still maybe answer some of this. Some of the insights regarding being a resident there, and one of the requests of the community is this potential addition of a new oak tree or two. And I was just wondering about the arborist report and if it makes sense as a mitigation that 1 for 1, but is 2 even feasible, or is that just we don't have information to even consider that tonight? Just curious.
Yeah, so in terms of oak tree mitigation, there's generally a payment into the mitigation fund and then a replacement, not on 1-to-1. It's based on the size and species of the tree, and generally a lot more trees are required to replace a larger oak tree because of survivability rates. I don't have specific information about the common open space area in the middle, but it does seem feasible that some additional trees could be planted in that vicinity to take over. That oak tree is in a state of decline, partially from construction impacts, and also it's an older tree. So it seems reasonable that there could be places that additional shade trees could be planted to allow that situation in the future if that tree does die.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question. I changed my mind. So I remember approving this project in August of 2019 or somewhere around there. Is the timeline for construction up to the developer, or so like they're saying there's no landscaping around phase 2 homes for more than 6 months upon move-in? Is there any way to see the initial plan and know whether they stuck to that timeline, those steps that they were supposed to do in the original plan?
So I'm not sure that landscaping had a timeline in the original master plan of development. In general, when we final each unit, we make sure that the landscaping is installed for each of those units. The applicants were requesting some modifications to the landscaping. They had installed landscaping that was not part of the approved plan. And we're hoping to make modifications to the landscaping. And so through that time, we did final some of the units to allow people to close escrow on those with agreements that they would go back in and landscape later per the approved plan. We do have an approved plan for landscaping around the units at this time, and we believe that at this time, the landscaping around all of the final units has been installed.
And so phase 2 is complete with landscaping at this point?
I don't know what their original phasing plan was. Certainly the central common space is adjacent to all of the phase 2 units, as well as some of the phase 1 units, and that landscaping has not been installed. But the individual strips of landscaping around each unit has been installed.
And then I'm assuming there's a phase 3, which is the units that have not been constructed yet?
Yeah, so it's my understanding their next phase of units are the 4 along the northern side of the project site. And then there will be a phase for the additional 5 cottage units that are towards the El Camino side of the project site.
Okay. And then we still have the work you live units right on the street to be built.
Yes, and those have not gone through our plan check process yet.
Okay. Thank you.
I have a question. I was on the planning commission when we first approved this as well. And the community center was sold as amenity that for this development. And just wondering, if we're removing that amenity, I guess that's up to the planning commission, but just wondering if we're not getting exactly what we were expecting. I mean, obviously we're not getting what we're expecting, but it seems like that was an amenity that we were told that sold the project to us. And wasn't it going to be available also to the community? I mean, not just the community in the HOA, but also the community in general.
I don't know about the answer to that specific question, but the answer to your first question is why we're here before the commission tonight and why staff didn't feel comfortable making the determination on this. But it does feel like we are losing substantial amenities in this project and is going in the wrong direction. But what I will tell you is the applicant's telling us they're not able to complete the project unless they're able to get some cost savings and some time savings to do that. So they're kind of holding us over a barrel. I think if that wasn't the case, we would not be approving these amendments. We would want to see the common building and all of these things done and in a timely manner.
And this may be a question for the applicant, but you did mention in the staff report that they had to redirect monies from this project to another project. Was that another project here in Atascadero? Do we know what project that was?
Multiple other projects throughout our region, not in the city of Atascadero.
I'll ask the applicant more.
Dennis.
With respect to the chair's questions, do we know what approximately the cost of savings is going to be or what the cost would be for the building?
No, don't know.
Any other questions, staff? Okay, we will go ahead and open the public hearing portion of the meeting and invite the applicant or the applicant's representative to come and address us. Come to the podium, and is the mic on over there? Can you check the button? We're recording, so.
All right. How about now? There we go.
We can hear you.
All right. Success. Yes. Hello, my name is Ted Lawton. I'm here this evening to speak as one of the principals behind the innovative, affordable by design Grand Oaks community. I'd first like to start off by saying thank you, planning commissioners, for your time this evening. It feels so good to get an opportunity to come up here and share with you some good news. The truth that affordable by design housing is possible in the state of California, in the county of San Luis Obispo, and the city of Atascadero. Additionally, I appreciate the opportunity to share what is both a status update regarding the project and the reason for the current landscape revisions that we are proposing here this evening. For starters, we feel so blessed to be working in the city of Atascadero, as there are so many wonderful people here in this community, amazing people who wholeheartedly support this project and other projects like it. We love all of the city staff here in Atascadero. We love and appreciate all of our homeowners and can't thank them enough for supporting this amazing project by design starter home community by choosing to be the first ones to live in this type of a community. However, I think it's important to point out the true heroes in our story this evening. Those heroes are the teachers, nurses, small business owners, retirees, and grandparents who stepped up to the plate to fund our project as financial partners, giving, in some cases, a majority of their retirement and entire life savings. Our investors do live and work here in Atascadero as members of the local community. And we just want to take some time tonight and recognize their accomplishments and extraordinary belief in this project and the need for affordable by design housing here on the Central Coast. They stepped up to the plate when no one else would. No local bank, no commercial bank, no housing trust fund. And they stepped up to the plate during a time of uncertainty in the midst of COVID pandemic, when all of our collective worlds were turned upside down and no banks would do anything. Our project would have been dead in the water. Just a big pile of dirt in the middle of Atascadero. From that point forward in our project, we experienced so many devastating setbacks. For example, our pricing more than doubled, over 200 to 300% on certain line items in our budget, as well as supply chain shortages and labor availability issues. There was also a point where we could not get appliances for 8 to 10 months. And as a result, we all know there's no way to final a house without appliances. This goes for electrical, air conditioning, and mechanical components for the project. And not to mention other projects in this town stopped completely. We kept going. Then we started to experience high inflation, followed by high interest rates, and now a possible downturn in the real estate market. We have made our fair share of mistakes along the way, and they will serve as valuable lessons as we move into the future. All of that to say is we are now at a critical point in the project. The changes we are proposing here tonight need to take place in order to guarantee the return of funds to our heroes, our financial partners, and our community members who stepped up to the plate when no one else would. At this time, we would like to invite the Planning Commission of Atascadero to help be a part of the solution and making sure the right thing happens and allowing for the revisions, therefore making it possible financially for the project to make our heroes whole. We have learned so many valuable lessons from this project that we can take away going forward, making sure our next communities will be a success. For example, having all the funds identified and committed to upfront, streamlining the approval process by adopting Atascadero stock plan, ADU stock plans and designs of all homes in a community. Also simplifying the community amenities, allowing us to guarantee the best affordable by design price home here on the Central Coast. Currently, there are only 2 single family homes in Atascadero under 600,000. They're listed at $599 each, built in the 1950s. One's a 2-bedroom, 1 bath. The other's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. We need to do better as a community of builders to provide more affordable by design housing options in the 3s, 4s, and 5s, which is exactly what these sold for. Our team is committed to making this happen as we move forward. And again, we'd like to invite our Planning Commission to support the effort of the Grand Oaks landscaping revisions and future projects that we will bring forward in the future. Thank you again for your understanding and consideration. With much respect, Grand Oaks team. Now, I'd be happy to answer some of the questions that came up tonight from the Planning Commission with respect to HOA, with respect to timing, anything. I'm available. I don't know if you want to do that now or wait until after you hear from the public.
We'll actually ask you questions now.
Sure.
Questions to the applicant? Dennis?
Yes, sir. Thank you for presenting. My fellow commissioner had talked about HOA fees and that the present owners are paying a fee that was based on the assumption that there was going to be a community building on the project site. Will there be any type of reimbursement for those homeowners who have been paying a certain amount for the complete project versus the modified project?
Dennis, that is a great observation and great question. The reality is now that the building is gone, HOA fees would actually go down. It's up to the HOA. The HOA has been established. They have their budget. It's up to them if they want to keep those costs in their budget and just allocate them to different line items or use it as a cushion as they go forward. Or if they would like, they can seek to resubmit the budget for a re-estimation through the DRE. Now, if that happens, we've already talked to our budget estimator, and the HOA will go up by at least $100 a month because of the fact that the new standards with the DRE since 2019 have increased substantially. So we'd like to let the HOA make that decision. They can decide to want to seek to increase or go for a revision to the estimate, or they can simply keep the budget as is and reallocate the funds within their budget for either a surplus or to reallocate it for some other items.
Is there any interest on the partnership who developed the property to reimburse those people whatever cost that they have been putting out for this? I don't know how, so we're saying it's.
Yes, so
1990, 2018, 2019. So they've been paying fees since then.
Yep.
So, was there any interest on behalf of, the partnership of reimbursing them directly versus going through the HOA and going through the DRE and then chancing the cost of, the increases that might happen?
Great, another great question. So all of the HOA fees were accrued and they've just been sitting in the HOA account. So there's no need to reimburse anything because every dollar that's ever come in has stayed or covered costs such as maintenance or taxes or state filings.
Yeah.
So the building was never built. There's been no payments on maintaining the building. All of those funds have just simply accrued and sit in the account.
But based on what you just said, though, to take the chance to amend the HOA document, there's going to be, because of changes in DRE cost and within the HOA manual that the state has, there's increases that have also increased over the last couple of years. So although they might not be reimbursed because the money's in the fund. So what's going to happen, because the cost of painting the units or the cost of asphalting the street or the cost of items that have a timeline on them, how are they going to be replenished when the time needs to be done? It's going to be coming out of their pockets, right? They're going to have to increase their own HOA fees to be able to afford things.
They could, that's their decision. If they wanted to resubmit to the DRE and have all their HOA fees go up, all those fees just go back to them to maintaining the community. My recommendation would be to keep what it is today and create a side fund to let it grow so they can reallocate for emergency purposes. Everything, if there wasn't a change to the landscape, to the building, there would be no need to go back to the DRE or change the HOA. It's up to them what they want to do with their money. We can't tell them how to spend their money. That's something that they need to vote on separately and allocate on their own. For us, the reason why we're doing it is because, you know, in this project, myself, Jack and Jennifer Kim, who's our other partner, we've put all our life savings in and it's gone. So we don't have any more money to put into this project. So right now, what we're trying to do is at least get a cost savings enough to return all of our investors' funds. And that's where we're at. So, I mean, I don't know how else, you know, I don't know how else to put it. but
How
that's
long,
where we're at.
how long ago did the HOA transfer from the owners to the buyers of units?
Approximately 2 to 3 months ago, somewhere in that range.
Was it known at that time that the community building was a make or break type situation 2 or 3 months ago?
You know, I'm not sure exactly what date we shared the information. I couldn't tell you, but it's within it's within these few months that was shared.
Thank you for your time.
Yeah,
Good question.
sure.
So you mentioned most of the money is local. So you have a percentage or a concept of how much is actually local? Was it 100%, 50%?
It's 100% local. These are all mom and pops that live either in Atascadero or San Luis Obispo County.
And so do you have anything like ongoing construction loans or anything that's open that's not local tied to this project?
And any local funds like a first trust deed is actually any funds regarding the project is all local. So even our first trust deed is from a local private lender, which goes to, again, more local families.
Okay, so essentially the local was all the capital. The
100%.
capital's completely gone. There's no backup as far as any open loans. Because the reason I'm asking is sometimes construction loans, they want certain updates before they'll open up more funding to keep you going. So wanted to make sure that that wasn't what's happening with this project.
Yes, so exactly right. So I think it was alluded to, funds were diverted to other projects and they were to save other projects that were local. There's one called Dove Creek, which is right down the street, which is 5 acres. There's also 26 acres right up the street as well, that the funds were needed in order to keep those out of bankruptcy and foreclosure. So the good news is recently those funds that were used have been returned 100% to the project. That is why we're able to move forward today, is we actually have all the funds back. Basically what happened was my partner and I gave up all our interest in any other project we had on the books to make sure that Grand Oaks gets done. And we're at a point here tonight where that may not even happen, which would be very sad.
So you mentioned that the funds were returned. So were they returned? I'm assuming you were in the negative at that point. They were returned and now you're at a zero.
They're returned in order for us to fund the remaining build out of the project. It's yet to be seen if at the end of the project that we will even be back to zero. We're already negative the money that partners put in, which is $1.4 million upside down. That's gone. So my life saving is gone. I've already paid for people to live in these houses. That's already happened.
Okay, that's all. Thank you.
And, you know, and I knew that getting involved in an innovative housing project, you know what, that comes with the territory. That was a risk that we took, but we're at the point where now we've got to protect our investors no matter what. And again, this is like your grandmother's savings. That's where we're at.
Okay. Thank you for being up here and answering very thoroughly. And I understand that there's a little fire brewing under you, and I appreciate just, the patience you are answering with these questions. And I do want to reflect a little bit on earlier what you said around, learned a lot from this project. Stock plans are potential moving forward on more affordable by design housing. And I think that that's kind of the silver lining in all this as far as lessons learned. And I do think, speaking for the community of Atascadero, that is actually very hopeful, because it takes a lot in order to actually move things forward and get it dressed accordingly with many, many, many different hoops to jump through. So that was actually pretty great to hear about. Regards to the resident and HOA board member comments that were made before the meeting via email, could you speak to a promised delivery date of these alternative community spaces?
Yeah. Yes. So I think what the city has done in the planning conditions is very smart because it actually helps kind of get a finality to it. What's hard in my world is I don't have a crystal ball. You gotta realize we just came out of COVID, a 100-year event. We never thought in a million years that we'd ever go through something like that. So for me to make a commitment to an exact date, we never did when it came to our contracts specifically, because we don't know. We had no idea when we'd ever get appliances again because of chip availability. I mean, I used to be able to tell people I can guarantee you everything about a project except for PG&E or my utilities. And now all of a sudden it's like, I can't guarantee anything on a project, which is really hard for me. Because I used to be able to see pretty well, and it's very muddy nowadays. So, the HOA was asking us to commit to $2,000 a day penalty fees or $5,000 a day penalty fees for not getting any of the amenities done by certain dates. And there's that's suicide. My family, we can't afford pay $2,000 a day because we couldn't get I can tell you this, if this gets approved tonight, our landscapers in town Thursday are ready to rock and roll. We want this park done more than anybody, right? I mean, for us, it helps for sales. It helps the HOA feel better about the situation they're living in. We feel terrible that this has happened. Some of it we are responsible for. I'm not trying to sit here and point fingers and say it's not our fault. We'll step up to the plate and do everything we can to make it right. I mean, at this point, I've lost all of my life savings. I'm up here as a volunteer. I mean, the only reason is because we have our investors. Otherwise, we would just bankrupt the project and let it go. But I think this project is so important to finish because of what it does for the state of California. And we've learned lessons about how to make it more affordable going forward. We're not going to let people take advantage of the project financially. That happened to us by two of our partners. We'll never let that happen again. And so for us, it's really important to get it done. And that's why I'm up here tonight. This is not easy for me. It's not easy having a HOA who, that's in an adversarial relationship right now, which we believe can be overcome once it's completed. Once this project's done, I believe everybody's going to fall in love with it. Yeah, I don't see how you couldn't.
Yeah, I mean, I know that we're sticking to Q&As here, Chair. And I mean, in the future, it would be, let's say we do have somewhat of a crystal ball and there could be a community open house of this completed and saying that this
100%.
is potential to spread and hear actually really great reviews. I really hope today that that's something we do see like 5 years from now that we get to look at, even 2 years or less from now. But yeah, I am, I'm concerned about the quality of life, like everyone here, I think, who's living there, investors, you at the stand. And I don't think there's a question that this could be a great alternative, from what I've read and who I've talked to and just even going there and seeing the space. But I'm just curious about why the fireplace area was taken out and, making sure too that there's proper utilities more than just the in-ground natural gas, but water, and potentially in that nook where you're going to have the barbecue, why you wouldn't have an outdoor sink and they wouldn't have to go walk up a flight of stairs to their kitchen for something random when they're out, prepping and being with a whole block party or something. It's just small amenities that I guarantee are way less than a community building. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's very good feedback. For us, we thought having the fireplace underneath the oak tree was not a good idea for obvious reasons. Instead, what we did was switch it out to a barbecue. So if you look at the plan where there used to be a house that we got rid of in order to make a bigger park for everybody, so we thought that would be a better quality of life. What we're showing there is a big barbecue with countertops on both sides, kind of like a built-in situation. And then there's sets of chairs. There's three tables and 2 sets of chairs each. And then there's a couch and a fire table, I guess. For us, as soon as you start doing hardline utilities, then it becomes costly for the HOA. Now there's a meter that's involved. Someone in the HOA is going to have to manage a meter. There's the water meter, watering that is involved. I think there is actually a spigot there, it's just not shown on the plans. But the thing is, as soon as you hook up a sink, then there's this whole drainage component, right? Where's that drainage go? So we looked at it, but from a logistics perspective, it was going to be very challenging, especially since all of the infrastructure's already been installed. So to go backwards would be hard, it'd be hard to do.
And the community building was supposed to be where the dog area was.
Correct.
So
Which, by the way, that is a parcel that we own, we still own. That's parcel 31. So that's not owned by the HOA. That parcel is actually owned by us.
I got a question. So first off, I'd like to follow up and say thank you for being up here and answering a lot of tough questions. I'm starting to get a little bit of the picture of the situation that you're in, and it's not an easy one. My biggest curiosity is, have you had this project financially assessed as far as if you get this community building, removed and this gets approved, how much money are you saving?
Yeah, so that's a great question. It's tough because everything's been a moving target on this project. So, at one point the community building was a $250,000, and now it's 500. Like everything on this project has gone up substantially. We're like $3 million over budget or more that we can identify. So for us, there's just no room. I believe the HOA actually had an appraiser do an appraisal on the building and whether or not it affected the values of the homes, and it came in neutral. It did not negatively affect the values of the homes. But something else I want to point out is in their purchase contract under the new construction addendum disclosure, it very clearly states, and I'll let one of our other partners talk about it, that we're able to make changes, even if it adversely affects the value of the home. So they agreed to that when they signed their purchase contract. So it was disclosed, it was made aware of that there could be changes to the project.
Yeah, and the reason I'm asking is how in-depth the financial assessment, how clear the picture is, if this gets approved, and it's based on the crux of this is the hill you're gonna die on, right? Or you get over the hill, right? And then let's just say that the funds aren't enough, and then it becomes, okay, another building cut. Because from the outside looking in, I mean, you do have the expanded area where you said, hey, we didn't develop a cottage here. Is it because did you financially save money there? I'm just
No, we took a loss by
Okay.
removing that cottage. We actually took a loss on the project.
Yeah, okay. So that's what I was just curious about, because I would hate for it to come back and be like, okay, now we need to cut this. And then you have the HOA that they're going to, of course, on the other side, you're in an adversarial position here.
I mean, I don't have a crystal ball.
Yeah.
I can't stand up here and say, I can guarantee you I could even deliver this. Like, I hate to say that, but that's the reality. From running our numbers, it looks like we will be able to, but
Okay.
But if we get demands, asking for additional monies, or if there's additional, like this fee tonight was $3,000, right? To show up. If
Yeah.
we have to go to additional meetings. All of it eats into our ability to be able to deliver.
Yeah. So from what I got, the only numbers that you mentioned there was an initial around 250,000. Then it got up to about 500, doubled roughly through COVID.
Like more.
And now it's kind of creeping up. So it's kind of a moving target where it's just an arrow going up. The longer you wait, the more expensive it gets.
That's been our whole project, has been in a complete moving target, unfortunately.
Okay. All right. Gotcha. Thank you so much for answering. I understand that's a tough question. Thank you.
I can completely relate to the appliances thing. We ordered a dishwasher and it took us over 9 months to get our dishwasher. So that was rough. My kids hated it, having to wash dishes for 9 months.
It's a good lesson.
So you said that, which lot was it that you said is still owned by you that's not part of the HOA?
Yeah, lot 31. So
Is-
there's 32 total lots.
And
There's-
31, is that where the cottage was? The other
It's
cottages?
where we're proposing the dog run.
Oh, the dog run.
Mhm.
So who will maintain that? Will it be adopted into the HOA? How's that gonna?
Yeah, so we haven't come to that decision yet because it depends on what happens with all of the outcomes here.
Is there any alternative? Because it kind of seems like either this is approved or you're bankrupt. So either ditch the community building or we're done. Is that it? Is that our options?
That's unfortunately, I hate to say that. It could be even worse than that. It could be if we don't adopt tonight and I can't close these 4 houses, we're done. We have 4 houses at 98% complete along the top that literally just need a few finishes and landscaping, and they're ready to close this month. We have 4 new buyers ready to move in. We need those funds to finish out the rest of the project.
And those are the ones on the north side?
Correct.
So on this picture, where the two on the, I guess, the northwest that says Unit A and Unit B or Unit C, are those under construction?
We just pulled permits today and the foundations are in their, we formed for foundations. We're ready to, we're hoping to pour those foundations next week.
And you have enough to finish those? I mean, as it stands today, I get the moving target. though, but
We
as it
do not
stands
have,
today-
we do not have enough to finish those. We have enough to get them started. But until we sell lots 17, 18, 19, and 20, we will not be able to build out the rest of the community. So I can get, my goal is to get our slabs in, our foundations in before it rains.
Okay.
I mean, I've got enough to do that, but that's it.
And what about putting another building where the community, another house where the community building was supposed to be? Is that an option?
I mean, I guess it could be, but I don't know if that is in conformance with zoning because I know the frontage is supposed to be commercial zoned. It's interesting, Tori, that we.
Is that a possibility? Or is
There's
that-
actually commercial zoning along the front of this property. It's
Right.
sort of split between commercial. So they could do another work live, but the ground floor would need to be a commercial land use.
Got it. I'm just thinking like, I'm just personally not a fan of like, it's this or this. Like I like discussion, solutions, options. And so I'm just sort of brainstorming here, and I just sort of am trying, like, I get where you're coming from. I, read the comments from the thing. I remember like how excited I was about this plan 4 years ago. And so I'm just sort of, kind of mulling over what you've said and just sort of seeing if there's other things that we can do as a city to help make sure this project happens, because I agree with you that I think it's incredibly important. At the same time, I really do want to hear from I hope a lot of these people are residents, because I want to hear from them. How important is a dog run? How important is that park? Like, is the center park enough? And maybe if we come up with some other options, we put this out to let you sort of mull them over with the community. And, because we don't want the investors to fail, particularly because they're local. We don't want this community to fail, but we want to make sure that all the options have been talked about and explored and that everyone is getting their needs met. So I'm sorry, I didn't mean to go off on that
No,
thing. Anyway, I'm done.
Tori, I totally hear what you're saying. I respect it. And for us, I think we'd be open to it. The only problem is it's tied to us closing those 4 houses, and which is supposed to happen within the next 3 to 4 weeks. So from a timing perspective, it's like, we'd be happy to go into a deeper collaboration, but we really need to make sure that those houses close so I can get the rest of those 5 cottages built and the slab in the ground for our live work units. So that way, again, we're up against the weather come October 15th.
Is the closing of those 4 units dependent on this tonight?
That's
So the way the condition is written is they cannot final any additional units until that central common amenity space is complete.
So we could approve the common central thing and not the community building amendment?
You could potentially break it into 2 approvals. If you did that, I think staff would recommend that they come back with a proposal for the community building space, but within a certain timeline or prior to moving forward on anything else, to make sure that that was resolved in a timely manner.
Is that something that staff would have time to do? Would that be any additional fees for them?
Possibly. I'm just going to add something right now. We probably want to think about just finishing out questions and moving to public comment before we get to
Okay.
that level of
Sorry.
discussion.
Okay.
But thank you.
I have one more question for you. It doesn't really relate to this, but curious, how many of these units are owner occupied?
to my knowledge, there's only 3 that have, or 2 or 3 that have been rented to the, here's the thing, we can't, California state law, when it comes to discrimination, is trumps everything. We really can't do much to discourage buyers, unfortunately. I mean, we try to encourage, what's it called? Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. It's basically owner occupied like loans, because most people get loans. That's what we're trying to encourage from a financing perspective, but we cannot, as soon as somebody buys it, and let's say they do an owner occupied loan, the next day, if they want to turn it into the rental, there's really nothing that we can do. And there's actually there's state code that because there's a lot of HOAs that try to exclude rentals. There's actually new California law that basically overturns that and it's illegal to not allow HOA members to rent houses, even if it's already in the CCNRs. So we've done a lot of research and we've looked into it. But the good news is a majority of the project is owner occupied, which we think is fantastic. What we would have done differently is not 2 stories. We wish we would have had some more single levels, because we would have gotten a little more age variation. We kind of missed the mark there, but again, lesson learned. Now we know.
Yes.
Excuse me, where is lot 31 located?
Yeah, so lot 31, where it says community building.
Yep. So it's within the commercial space?
Correct.
And why is the ownership holding on to 31?
Well, at one point we thought about maybe doing a community center underneath it, and then trying to finance it through units above, like a live work type situation. But unfortunately, even that's not penciling anymore.
Is it at all could it be used as a fallback position? We've been talking about costs, and costs continuously going up, and hard to project where materials are going to be. And the cost of materials have really skyrocketed. So is 31 a fallback position for the ownership to try to get more money at some time in the future, and to make up loss, to try to make up costs that they need to do to finish the project?
I mean, no, that was never the intent, right? I mean, we looked at, hey, is there an opportunity to be able to fund the community center with units above it, so we could finance the cost over a certain duration in order to make it more palatable? But we just literally do not have the funds. Like, if we had the funds to do it, we would be doing it. But at the end of the day, and right now, commercial banks, everything's changed. Like the terms that in 2019 are, I don't know if you know this, but liquidity is drying, credit is going away. So what banks used to provide, as far as, 50, 60, maybe even 70% is all, you got to come in with so much cash, and that's what we don't have. We do not have the cash to move forward to do it because of new banking requirements on the ratio.
I would imagine that just in general, the collateral that you have within the park is meaningless to a bank.
Yeah. And it doesn't belong to us. It belongs to the HOA.
Yeah.
So.
Thank you.
I'm going to just ask forgiveness for staff and my fellow commissioners here. I have to beg the question because I'm really intrigued by Commissioner Keen's comment. I get that we're doing questions and we want the public to speak. I hope the public understands that we are trying to be very creative and sensitive to this community. And I'm wondering about this community building, being gone. If there was a live work commercial, could it be flipped to where the bottom level is for residential and the top is for, that you just said that lower levels, age groups. So we can hold that question, but I had to insert it into that conversation.
We'll ask that. You can ask staff that.
Okay.
Thank you very
I'll reserve.
much. Appreciate You're
welcome.
We'll go ahead and open it up to anybody else in the community that would like to speak on this issue. If you'd like to come up to the stand and state your name, and you'll have 3 minutes to address us.
Good evening, commissioners. Olivia Montano. Just to address the questions that have been aired so far, I personally like the 2 appraisals idea. I think that would buy us some more time to find an agreeable resolution. And to Commissioner Keen's comment about is one park enough? We're already running into issues with space. There's 10 dogs, 4 children. You know, we hardly see each other because we're in and out of our doors. There's no space to gather, just dirt lots. To Commissioner Dunsmore's comment earlier about feeling as though your hands are being forced here, that's certainly something we're all feeling as well. So as for my comment tonight, I'm a homeowner in Grand Oaks Paseo of 18 months, and I'm also on the board of the HOA that's been recently elected in May of this year. We seek the city's support for some needs that may not be outlined in this proposal. For the Central Park, the developer has verbally mentioned a barbecue and propane fire pit. We ask that you ensure that they install gas hookups so that the residents are aren't forced to carry propane tanks. We also ask that you ensure they plant another oak tree to replace the one that was lost. We believe this will also help the lone oak in the Central Park survive. For the proposed dog park and community garden, we request that electric conduit be installed for any future power needs in the park, such as light updates. Finally, we ask that you hold CalCoastal to a strict time frame for the completion of these parks, as you mentioned. We request a deadline of December 1 for the Central Park and May 1 for the dog park and community garden. We ask for your support, holding CalCoastal accountable, considering what we've been through these past 2 years. We were told the project would be done in 2022. We understand and empathize with the obstacles the developers have faced due to the pandemic, and our hearts go out to the investors who are local families in our community. However, we've observed construction crews being directed to CalCoastal's other projects, and even have morning meetings on our own property only to leave for the day to work on other sites. More recently, homeowners were pressured into signing off on these new plans in the form of a written agreement by CalCoastal, citing budget constraints. We've since been told that yet another funding stream has come in to finish the project entirely, but we still fear our parks, oak tree, and residents will be overlooked for the developer's capital gain. When I first bought into this pocket community, I was inspired by the developer's vision. Now, the first word that comes to my mind is neglect. For all our sakes, I want that to change. We hope that our experiences aid in your decision-making. While we don't want this project to be delayed, we trust that the city will advocate for its residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, does anybody else wants to speak to us?
Hello, my name is Tyler Smith. I live at 5924 Grand Paseo. I'm the board president for the HOA here at Grand Paseo. Want to thank you for your time for meeting and going over these. I think for the board and a lot of the homeowners, we appreciate a lot of the questions. It shows that you do care about what is going on here in our city. I just want to stress and kind of piggyback off of what Olivia said. We don't want to see local investors suffer either. But just like Ted was saying, there's some of us are $500,000 into this. These are some of our first homes. And it is frustrating when we're spoken to and not promised, but sold on a community building to have family gatherings and barbecues for your family and birthday parties for your kids, because the homes are smaller to accommodate his vision, which we believed in, to then just be told, months ago, maybe a month and a half ago, that it wasn't going to happen. In regards to Ted's earlier thing about coming out neutral, appraisers actually refused to come on property because they just said it's not something they could actually compound and give it a rough number. They said it will definitely have an effect, but they wouldn't be able to stake their name on an actual number that would hold up anywhere. So it's not that it came out neutral. The neutral comes out more from inflation, that from when we bought our homes, they're worth more technically, but they could be worth even more if there was a community building for our personal investment out of our own money. But we just wanted to say that I appreciate your guys' effort into this. I know that Ted and CalCoastal had a great vision, and I still think there is a great vision, but I think just us as homeowners, we just really want to make sure that we were kind of getting what we purchased, but also a place to raise our families and call a community, and to make sure that these spaces just get done appropriately. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, good evening. My name is Marco Caracas. I am the current listing broker associate at Grand Oaks Paseo. I'm also assisting in the superintending of the construction. I want to commend Victoria for taking the time to go out and actually looking at, I'm sure others have probably gone out. I met her earlier with her beautiful daughter. She was looking at the community and really getting perspective on what the decision that you guys are making tonight is all about. I want to thank everybody here for their time to come out. I've seen more progress in a construction site in the last 4 months than I've seen in all of my 20 years in real estate sales and construction experience. This community came to life. And I think that if you live there and if you've been by there, you've seen in the last 4 or 5 months just a huge night and day change in progress in construction. Now, just today, the retaining walls were formed for the Central Park area. So I think to put everybody's minds at ease, we are definitely planning on moving forward with Central Park as soon as we are given that green light. I have 5 daughters who I've raised according to biblical principles. 3 of them are here tonight. Want to wave hi? One of those principles that I've raised my daughters on is called the Golden Rule. You may have heard of it. It's actually in the Bible in Matthew 7:12. It's Jesus's words when he said, "Do unto others as you will have them do unto you." I've been in the real estate industry 20 years now. And one of the major impediments to homeownership that I've seen is affordability. What I've seen at Grand Oaks is the Golden Rule in action. This is a community that was designed specifically to be designed for affordability. And I think that maybe some of the homeowners that are there now would not have been able to buy a home had the price not been where it is, and instead been at the median home sale price in Atascadero, which is about $800,000. We currently have 4 Grand Oaks Paseo homes in escrow that are hundreds of thousands of dollars below the median home sale price. These homes are only 2 to 3 weeks away from completion, pending the decision that will be made tonight. The close of escrow, the successful close of escrow of those 4 homes will waterfall the project to continue to be able to build out the rest of the project. I was there a couple of weeks ago and looking at one of the homes, and I was up in the 2nd floor, and through the balcony, I saw what appeared to be a transient just walk by and scope the community. And then he came around the construction fence, walked in through the driveway, and then he looked inside of every one of the 4 homes that we have in escrow that are under construction, but about 98% built. And he looked inside every one of them. He didn't notice us up there. It was myself and Jack and Leo. And we asked him what he was doing there, and he was spooked. And then he literally asked for some of the materials that we had laying there, if he can have them. So to end, I want to say that SLO County, the city of Atascadero, and Grand Oaks Paseo is 2 to 3 weeks away from welcoming 4 new families to this community. One of the families wrote a letter, and I'd like to read it to you tonight. It says, "Hi, Marco. Leanne and I are very excited to move into and live at the Grand Oaks Paseo development. We have been dealt a few obstacles with a projected move-in date, but we are staying resilient and optimistic that the house will be ready as currently promised. We understood that there was originally to be a community building on the site, but instead there is now going to be a dog park introduced to utilize that space. We think a dog park would be a delight for the furry friends of the community, and being positioned at the front of the development is a perfect location. We are really looking forward to settling into our new house with no further delays with the development. Best regards, Aaron and Leanne Alduenda, future Grand Oaks Paseo residents." What's interesting about this family is they just sold their home in Orange County, and they moved here and now are living in an Airbnb, anxiously awaiting the completion and close of escrow of their new home located at 5921 Grand Paseo Way, Atascadero. My final thought that I'm going to leave you with is, I think it's important for the planning commissioners to all know and note that in their purchase contract, every current homeowner and every future homeowner has signed and will sign a new construction property disclosure statement. And that statement states in item 13, changes by seller. That's the title of the paragraph. It says seller may change its pricing, product, development plan, and or marketing methods for the project or other phases of the project, including without limitation to the following that may adversely affect the value of the project, including in those changes are more or less expensive features and amenities. So every homeowner that lives there signed this and agreed that the seller had the ability to be able to make the changes that are actually being proposed tonight. My prayer is that tonight we would all consider what's at stake here, and that the decision that is made will be made according to the golden rule, knowing that there are people's futures at stake here, people that are living in an Airbnb waiting for one of these 4 homes to close escrow in about 3 weeks. Thank you for your time and God bless you.
Thank you.
Oh, here we are. First off, I'd like to thank the commission for being here and just your civil service and taking time out of your nights to pretty much make decisions for the community. I could be wrong, but I feel like this is going to be the most impactful and significant modified landscape plan that you've ever approved. And
Sorry, can you state your name for the record?
my
please?
apologies. My apologies. My name is Corey Jones. I live on Portola Road here in Atascadero, born and raised here on the Central Coast, and I'm representing the investors. And by that, I myself am not the investor. I represent my my parents and my aunt. And I just kind of want to give some personal context on our backstory, how we got involved in the project, and our understanding of where it currently stands. So with that, I just wanted to give a face to it because I feel like when you hear this idea of real estate investors, you think of folks with kind of funny money or money to lose or this far off concept, right? But what happened was with my family specifically back in 2020, we have a ranch that dates back to 1830 to the formation of this community. Classic story in this area. We couldn't afford to keep it, right? So we unfortunately through family dynamics sold it. I recommended to my family for the first time, knowing that, hey, we have some assets. Let's just create a trust. Let's make sure that we have some basic protection in place, right? Through that, we got introduced to this project, and we are no way sophisticated investors or anything of that nature. And through that process, we saw, okay, there's a real estate development in Atascadero, a growing and developing community aiming to build affordable housing, which is highly needed. I'm a young professional myself. I recognize I can't afford a home yet. There's going to be a demand for it. Through that process, we also saw all the local press tied to this project. We saw the endorsement from the city of Atascadero. I don't know if I could say the word endorsement, but a listing with on the city's website, things of that nature that made it seem this is relatively safe. And the timeline was 12 to 18 months. And the return wasn't particularly insane. It was pretty moderate, right? So it's like for all standards, this seems like a pretty basic project. My father was a union carpenter of 44 plus years. He had nothing to his name other than his pension and the Social Security. That's what they were going to live off. My mom and my dad. My aunt, who also invested in this project, is a postal worker, right? Those are the funds that came into play, and they put everything they had. It's not wise. Those are the risks that you take. I understand that. There's plenty of criticism that we could take as a family for doing so, but that's our reality. In that time frame, more suddenly, in April, my father passed away, right? So now I got to step up on behalf of my family. He's only 63 years old. I have a disabled mother, right? We'd lost his pension because he went single life because we thought by all rational factors that he's going to live longer than her. His pension's gone down to one Social Security. This is all the finances my family has. Now I'm just one story, right? Again, my aunt's a postal worker. The people that funded this, I'll finish briefly, right? I just had to give that context. There's 15 different families that made up the funds that made this project possible. And we took a bet on the community, right? It all factors led for this to seem viable. And now I understand why the homeowners are pissed, truly, right? The timeline is far from what it was supposed to be. There's expectations that were set. There was promises that were made that aren't being delivered. That's going to lead to disappointment and frustration. We're in the same boat. But right now, through the fact that it's taken 3 years, we've gotten to the point of, hey, why is this project not done? And we've kind of done our due diligence, and we understand so crystal clear that if these certificates of occupancies aren't issued and those 4 homes don't close escrow, this project is pretty much dead in the water. And from all standpoints, truly all standpoints, like the families that invested in this, we're devastated economically. right? But also from the homeowner standpoint, if the project's actually dead in the water and the remaining 12 or 16 to 20, 13 homes don't complete, that's not of their financial interest. Right now, they're at the very least protected in the fact that they have a tangible asset. They have equity in their home. We're out. The structure of our investment is we get nothing back until the project completes. And at this point, we're not even worried about our interest or anything of that nature. We just want our principals back. And we recognize that errors were made, fingers can be pointed, but we're simply just saying, like I said, this is probably the most significant landscape plan, or at least I sure hope so, in terms of how it affects the direction of the community, but also the success of this project and the larger vision for more affordable housing for the Central Coast going forward. Because if this project dies in the way in which it could, people aren't going to want to touch this. And then with that, again, my family loses our home that they fought through the recession to keep and all that jazz. And I don't want it too much of a sob story, but that's full context. And I just hope that in everyone's interest, full transparency, your vote tonight is pretty much whether or not this project's move forward. Like, it gives the project an opportunity, and it's at that thread. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else that would like to address us? Okay, we're going to close public comment and bring it back to the commissioners for discussion.
I'm sorry, I drank a whole bottle of water. Can we take a 5-minute break?
We're going to take a 5-minute break. We'll be right back.
3-minute break. I'll try to make it 3 minutes. Okay. Sorry, thank you.
Okay, we're gonna start again here. I think, are we recording still? Okay, we're recording. Okay, bring it back to the planning commission for additional discussion.
And boy, do I have questions. You ready, Phil? Okay, so the closing of the 4 homes is dependent upon the Central Park being finished. Is that true?
That is how the project is currently conditioned, yes.
Okay. Do we have the power to break up any of these conditions and change the conditions now at this meeting right here?
The whole project is open for you tonight.
So we
You
can
can
like do whatever we want.
You can do whatever you.
Is that what
want,
you're telling me?
But every little string you pull
Has consequences.
Consequences.
Well,
So,
see, I'm the idea person. You're the consequences guy. So I need you to tell me the
Yes.
consequences of my ideas.
and we may not know all the consequences. But
Ooh,
we'll try our
even
best.
better. Okay. That's just what you want, isn't it, Ted? More unknown consequences? You're just like going with it now. Yeah. Okay. All right. So if we remove the condition and let those 4 houses close, what are the types of conditions we can put on the Central Park and the community building space to make sure those are finished for the current and those 4 future residents, so that we can kind of keep things moving, but also make sure that we're getting the input and ideas to make sure that all the residences are happy?
You can write whatever you want to write as a condition. The question becomes, is it enforceable? And unless it's tied to the final of a unit that is under construction, it's not really enforceable or anything that the city has power to make sure
Okay.
happens.
So can I ask Ted a question, or we close public comment?
That would be up to your chair.
Sorry, Chair.
We'd have to open it up again and allow everybody else a chance to speak.
Okay, then I won't do that. Okay, so if we tie the Central Park to the closing of the 2 units that have started construction that are in progress, someone can just nod their head. Would that be an appropriate timeline
So
for the
the-
Central Park to get done?
So the building code allows them 6 months between major inspections, of which there are 8 or so.
So those 2 units could take another 4 years?
In theory, it would be unlikely, but in theory they could.
Okay. But we could tie them to those 2 things. And have they had any inspections yet? None.
They just picked up permits today.
Right. Okay. Right. Okay. I know, but we have to open up public comment to let you comment.
Which could mean that other people that didn't get. a
That's
chance to speak,
true.
the
If
neighbors.
that's true, if there was someone else who happened to live in the residence and wanted to weigh in on what they could possibly want for their community and we opened up public comment, they could do that. Sorry,
I
Jeff.
guess it depends on how late you want our meeting to go, but
This is important. I'm gonna.
yes, we will reopen public comment so that can answer those questions.
Okay.
Ted, would you mind?
All right. So I think what you're asking makes a lot of sense. Like I said, for us, we want to get this park done now. So what I might suggest is you could tie it to framing before we start framing as an inspection on those 2 units to allow, like, we cannot frame until the park is complete. And we want to start framing within 4 or so weeks.
Can we do that, Kelly? Tie the completion of the park to one of those major inspections?
You can, yes. They have 12 months before they get their first major inspection allowed by building code, and then 6 months after that. So their first major inspection, I believe, is a slab, and then it would be
18.
framing. So they would have potentially 18 months.
Do you have your slab inspection scheduled?
Not yet. We need to put our rebar in, which is supposed to happen
awesome.
next week. We want to pour next week. So that is going to be our first inspect. Like I said, we want to get these in before the rain.
Right.
So
And this is not a dig at you whatsoever. It's just that I'm trying to connect it to something with a concrete, a concrete date. Thank you. I'll be here all night. A concrete date so that the homeowners have something that they can take away from this meeting. And
I
so
agree.
I know you don't want to wait 12 months to have a slab
No.
inspection.
No.
I just don't know if that's enough for them.
It's my understanding that they were ready to proceed with the central common open space area. And so if the commission desires, you could break the approval into two processes. You could just approve the central common space area tonight with a condition that that be done prior to final of any additional units, and that they bring back the community building design alternatives with some additional neighbor input. Perhaps there's a neighborhood meeting that needs to happen, or some outreach that the city can participate in as well. And that could be brought back, prior to framing final of the other two cottage units that are currently just starting construction.
Is that feasible?
Yes, and we would be in support of planting more oak trees as well in the central park. So
And I think that
we'd be okay to add that as well.
homeowner input, president and board member, we want to hear what you guys want in that place, whether you're like, I want that community building, we need to figure out how to make that happen, or if you want a dog park, or if you want a community garden, get your people in here and tell us what you want, because that's who we speak for you. Okay. I mean, like, we listen to all sides, but we want to know. Write us an email, whatever, but tell us what we want, or what you want. I'm sorry. Okay. So I'm sorry. I've just taken everything and I'm like, I'm going to make a motion, but y'all have not had a chance to talk. So please go.
I also want to make sure, since we did open public comment, that we
Oh,
call
yes.
anybody else to the.
Did anyone else want to speak? I'm sorry.
I'm supposed to.
Very emotional. I'm sorry.
So,
Trying to think of
so no more questions for us.
I'd actually like to ask you one more question.
Sure.
So if these for sales are able to go through with this approval, would that give you enough capital to be able to float rolling the rest of this project?
I can guarantee it'll get us through the next 5 cottages. I have no guarantee what their sales are going to be. So until we close, once I know what they close at, then I could give you a definitive on the live work building. I can tell you that we are planning on pouring the slab. We're moving forward with, they have gone through plan check, but we needed our MEP engineering completed. We've hired an MEP engineer to finish that portion of the plans. So all intents and purposes, we are moving forward with that part of the project. But yet again, till we know what happens here tonight, until I have those 5 houses sold, I can't give you a definitive. I can tell you what our intention is, but ideally we'd have those done by the middle of next year. I don't know how long it's going to take to get us through a plan check. I think it'll be quick. Hopefully it'll be 6 months, and it'll take us 6 months to build, or it'll be less than 6 months. And, it'd be 6 months to build, hopefully 60 days to get those approved. But, we are getting into holidays, and, things happen.
The reason I'm asking is Tori's concept of where she's going.
Yeah.
I mean, your project, you don't have a floating line of credit to be able to keep you going. And so it's almost as you go, each thing that you're making of profits rolling into the next. And
Yep.
so it finally got to a point where, it got tighter and tighter, and now we're here. So I just wanted to make sure that with what she's pointing out, that it gives you that resolution to be able to, one, we can address the things that the public wants, try to make them happy. And we can also make sure that your project and your vision can also move forward. So that's kind of what I'm trying to just.
Yep. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Tori.
I have a comment.
Question.
There were a couple members from the homeowners board, the directors of the HOA who spoke. Do you know if there was a straw vote taken amongst the board that said that they agreed to make these changes? And do you know whether there was a meeting that was convened that had all the association members in attendance in one place?
So I do not want to speak for the board. I'd recommend they come up and speak. All I can tell you is that, our, Jake Sanchez, our general contractor, did meet with a group. I don't know if it was all of them, and talked about the plans. And I know at one point everyone agreed, but I think it seems like maybe there was some kind of pressure to agree. So, you know, to Tori's point, if you know, more collaboration input would make sense. I'm not saying no. I'm just saying it's just from a timing perspective, it's critical we close these 4, but we're open to it. So, you know, we want to work with our community. Like I said, when this thing's done, we want to get it done. We want to celebrate. You know, we're hoping that we can move past what's happened what's happened historically and deliver a wonderful community that everyone's going to enjoy to live in. I understand the frustrations, you know, I get it. And that's why I'm not faulting them. I get it. And that's why we're trying to do everything we can to move forward with a landscape plan. Now, we wanted to get the landscape done, you know, months ago when we met with them, but then we were conditioned with having to come back to get the landscape approved. So for us to move forward with landscaping with an unapproved landscaping plan was going to cause us more problems. So that's why it did not progress. And there were some funding challenges in there too, to be honest.
Thank you for your comment. And the one thing that bothers me is that you really, you want to do these things. I'm really supportive of you saying those things and reaching out and doing those, but at the same time, you're giving us a make or break situation, giving everyone make or break situation. If this doesn't happen, this is going to happen.
I don't think it needs to be make or break. I think it depends on the conditions of the approval. The conditions is what forces it. The conditions as drafted now are kind of what's causing that. I think if you can be creative with timelines, then I think this could work better.
One of the issues that I have with section 13 that was quoted is that the developer can make these changes and do these things. Developer forgot to put in that clause that you need the planning commission's approval to make those changes and stuff. It wasn't your decision to make without us going along with it, or the city at some point. So
I don't think that was the spirit of the contract. I think it was the contract between us and the sellers.
But you're using it.
I'm just saying that there was an agreement made between us and the sellers, which would give them notice that things could change.
Okay.
Ted, I have a question for you. So, if we can do some flexible things right now, you're saying if every unit were to be developed and everything's sold, would the community building pencil out, or is it off the table no matter what?
I mean, we could try, but the people that end up paying for it are the investors. It'll eat into their principal. Right. So if we want to make the investors, I mean, we've already paid for a portion of everybody's house. If we want to do that to our investors, which I don't think is fair. I mean, maybe there is some other type of thing that we can compromise on. I've got some ideas that come to mind. You know, unfortunately, we wanted to meet with HOA, but you know, our meetings got canceled. So us being able to collaborate together, we didn't have that opportunity. We're open to it. We'd love to. I'm very creative. We have a team that's very creative design wise. I think we could maybe accomplish something similar without having to build a huge building, but create a gathering space that still kind of functions. So, yeah.
I just wanted to be clear for everybody that whether making a condition to require the community building to be built might be.
I mean, you can make a condition and then the project would just stop, you know, like, okay, I'm glad we have the condition, but you know, I mean, I can only do so much. I've been fighting for this project for years. And at some point there's only so much I can fight for. And I'm up here today for our investors and for the community members.
Thank you, Ted.
You're welcome.
Are there anybody else that would like to speak?
I just wanted to point to answer Mr. Schmidt's question. I was actually in an HOA meeting along with Corey Jones and my 13-year-old daughter who's here. And we had a meeting and we explained to the HOA the situation of the project, the financial situation from an investor's point of view, from the future residents' point of view. And collectively, we collected the majority of the HOA signatures that agreed to the revision of building the dog park in lieu of the community building. And I wish he was still here, but Tyler, which is the HOA president, who is also a law enforcement officer, volunteered to hold on to that list of signatures and get the remaining signatures because they were all agreeable that they were going to approve this landscape change. There he is. And so he volunteered and, you know, we had the signatures. They all agreed. As far as real estate contract law, that is an approved an agreement that is in writing. Signatures were delivered. And then I gave them to Tyler because he requested that he would volunteer to get the remaining signatures. In that interim of waiting for the remaining signatures, our contractor, Jake Sanchez, asked the HOA, hey, we need to submit the signatures to the city. And in the interim, we get an email. They were demanding $175,000 to be deposited in the HOA upon completion of the 4 homes and $2,000 a day penalty for not building the Central Park and $2,000 a day penalty for not building the dog park. And I don't know what happened from the HOA meeting that we had where they most agreed and signed. And then Tyler took those signatures and then decided not to give them to us. So I don't know what happened there, but I hope that answers Mr. Schmidt's question. Also, I wanted to add and point that as a 20-year-old veteran or 20-year veteran, not 20-year-old, I'm more than 20 years old, but as a 20-year veteran in the real estate industry, I can tell you that having an amenity like a community building does not affect the value of their homes. As a matter of fact, we closed every single one of these and appraised every one of them at full value, including lot 16, which just closed a couple of months ago. And the appraisal came in at full value, and no appraisal has ever asked for a community building or anything. As a matter of fact, it was just half dirt at that point. So the only thing that can affect the value of these homeowners' homes is if this construction does not continue and it gets stopped and transients come in and vandalize and squat in this community. And then we cannot close other homes that can be used as comparables to support the value and even raise the value of the current homeowners' homes. So that's, thank you for the time.
Please. We're open for public comment. So we reopen.
So again, I'll try to keep it short. So to answer a question, initially, a lot of us were kind of in agreement of moving forward. We were told that if it didn't, they would foreclose. We'd have 18 months of living in a construction site. A lot of us felt kind of like it was this or that. And so we like, well, we don't want to live in a construction site anymore. So there were homeowners that signed a piece of paper. Yes. We as an HOA and community members talked about it. We felt pressured. They initially tried to come to us individually to get us to sign something, which was a little odd instead of coming to meetings. We held on to it. Everyone discussed. We asked our homeowners what they wanted. They wanted to hold off. They wanted to come to this. They wanted more information of what was going on in their community, and they wanted more of a say. So I apologize if nothing was said, but we did send another email rescinding all financial stipulations in our clause. We were mainly looking for some sort of a dedication of finishing the project. We've been told for almost 2 years now, me a year, Olivia for almost more, that things are going to get done. We have the money and there's no people on site. Nothing's getting done. So our biggest fear was nothing being done and us signing something so they can skid out in a sense. So it's us trying to communicate and just trying to learn more about what's going on and just wanting our community to be finished. And not being played on in the sense that this has to happen or that has to happen. But we did send another email with no response received when it came to, can we just meet and just agree that the park will be done by this date? So that way we can just move forward. And it was met with nothing. And we removed all financial stipulations out of our clause. So we weren't demanding anything. We just wanted to make sure things were getting done. So thank you.
Can you hold on a second?
Yeah.
We want to ask just a couple questions.
So what is your opinion on letting those 4 houses close, making the completion of that park tied to the next 2 units. And my concern is that it will feel like more of the same, just another timeline that they won't make. And I don't want you to feel that way. So how do you feel about it?
Me personally, without being able to speak for the board and meeting with them and talking about it, I like the idea of the split approval personally.
Okay.
I don't want investors to fail. I can't speak on conversations. I can't speak on how the funds were used, but the investors are probably just alongside us, the most innocent victims in this, that they gave money, they trusted something to happen, and their money was used for something else. So I don't want community members to fail. I also want our community to be built. So I personally like the idea of the split approval, because that way things are sold, families are sold, right? They sold houses, and a family sold their house in Orange County without actually having the okay that this house was going to be approved. I don't really want that resting on me, but at the same time, I would like more discussion on what is going on with the community building and things like that. So that's doable.
Would
but-
you feel comfortable going back to your board and saying, this is what happened, and they want you there to come give your input? Like, is that something that you guys can
I mean,
encourage?
we encourage some of the homeowners to come out today. I know a lot of them just working schedules, they weren't able to make it. Majority of our board is here minus our treasurer.
Okay.
He was sick and having to deal with some family issues, but we're just trying to advocate. And I think the homeowners, I know.
And they
Gonzalo
can
came
email
out.
us too. We get every single email sent to the planning commission.
Okay.
Okay. I mean, this is one of those projects that directly impacts a pretty small part of the community. I mean, the investors, you guys that live there. And, we put a lot of value on your opinions and your needs and wants because y'all live there. So I encourage you, if we go forward with the split approval, to please get as many homeowners to weigh in as possible. And thank you for answering my question.
No, thank you guys again for just the advocacy and asking these questions.
I have one more question for you.
Yes, sir.
So when you went and looked at this place to buy, were you
Yes, sir.
sold on that there's going to be a community building there?
Honestly, yes. Me and my wife are very social. We like having family gatherings. We grew up doing family barbecues. That was a big idea of there's room for a jump house for my son to have a birthday party there and not have to go do it at my in-laws or something like that. Having the grass area, we specifically picked our lot, expecting there to be grass very close that we could look out the window and our son would have a yard to play in, because we knew that there wasn't specific yards for homes. I worked construction too. I get that there's changes this big are obviously, kind of unforeseen and unexpected, but that was a huge deciding factor in our home buying purchase, was having those amenities. And one of the big reasons why we did end up purchasing such a small home square footage wise and having a community space to host people.
And the reason I ask that is while people can make the argument as far as assessment of value, I mean, we do know we're dealing with inflation. We know that the percentages are just going up. There's a lot that we can go back and forth on this, but one thing is the hook of the area. It's okay, what school's close by? What is an amenity? That's a family thing. What are the parks? These are the questions that everyone asks. And I just want to let you know that we do value your input, and these things this is not only just what you're sold, it's your personal experience. So it helps us to understand what you walked into. So thank you for your honesty there, and thank you for speaking tonight.
Sorry, I have one more question.
No problem.
So the community building, was it so much that it was a building, or that it was dedicated community space?
Dedicated a building from my understanding, when I did construction, I worked mainly with multifamily HOA. We did reconstruction with a company called Empire Works. So I would go to board meetings, I'd deal with them. And part of that in bids and things I would do is reconstructing of clubhouses, which is what this I would assume was going to be. Kitchen space, so you can cook in there. You can have, whether it be a Super Bowl party, a birthday party, just there was even plans whenever we moved in. I remember talking with Olivia and Luke, like we can all have like block parties and like everyone can get together and have this sense of community. So the community space is important, but the building was kind of important too, because it gave us all of that option to host larger groups of people in a sheltered area where we could all kind of hang out and get to know each other and have that quality time that comes with the community as well.
And so I think that kind of feedback on what needs to go there is really important, so that we can hopefully come up with a good solution for everyone. So
Yeah, no, and
Thank you.
I do want to say that I'm not speaking for the whole board. Me personally, I'm
Right.
not putting my foot down. There has to be this. Like I said, I don't want to force something that causes somebody to lose a home, lose their pension, we want to come and talk about it. And so it's just finding the avenue of being able to find out what's best for everyone involved. So I just want to say that we're not, demanding certain things.
yeah, no, that's appreciated. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Like, okay, all right, yeah, yeah, okay. I'm just curious as far as like, yes, what you were, you could say promised, what you bought into literally and figuratively, and then what has actually occurred. I think Olivia mentioned, there's some odd number of dogs now and then children, and it's like, oh, okay, like the building, yes, and is it an outdoor kitchen that we're after? Is it, oh, actually, yeah, dog run and some community garden space would be nice. I'm also thinking about just heat waves, right? And like indoor versus outdoor space. I know we're talking thousands of dollars extra for indoor versus outdoor space, but like to me, it's like the heat wave and the times, and then we don't have killer hornets necessarily, but sometimes they're around. And it's like the yellow jackets, you can do things to mitigate that. But I really am curious about quality of life and like community space, versus I think earlier we just talked about before we opened it back up to public comment, if this could be another mixed use, like commercial zoned. I don't want to forget that that's something that we just mentioned. And so since the public comment is open and people living here, could you speak to that on the personal level?
Me personally,
Yes.
again, not representing all the other homeowners of board.
Correct.
I think I can't even say worst case scenario is the community center not being there. I had a small conversation with Jake at our meeting, and having a little experience in construction, like something is working with Jack and Ted and the builders, like, okay, building's completely off the table. Is there a way you can pipe sewage, water, and electrical to be plumbed in? So if the HOA wants to get a construction loan later to build their own clubhouse, because we wouldn't have to rip up asphalt. Obviously, there was a building supposed to go in anyway, so you could use the original plans to pipe in that stuff, and then it sits 10 feet below the ground for a construction company 15 years down the road to tap into. Something like that where it gives the HOA an option. There's, if you do get emails, there's a lot of things that people are upset about within the neighborhood, and they all have different experiences, whether it's the build quality of the home, issues in the home, issues outside of the home, like lack of lighting, whatever it might be. So you might get that, but in the sense of that building, it's just being able to work with and having the future to build what we want if we're not going to get what we want right now, without that
I'm
sounding,
hearing local
without
control.
that sounding super selfish, but it's just, you're expecting something, you're not getting it. So maybe meeting halfway and then prepping it for us to tap into later would be a good middle ground. Personally, that I think that, as the reserves and the HOA go up, that's an option to have something built for the community if they vote that that's what they want, without having to force investors to fail and things like that. So
Right. Thank you for that. And
course.
I really do want to second, third, fourth it. If there's anyone who hasn't spoke that lives there currently, I know there's a couple, like not forcing, but like, please do feel free to come up on the mic.
am I able to ask, did you guys have more than one email for this? No? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else that would like to speak? Yep.
Hello, thanks Paul for taking the time and especially the extra time. I know it's a little bit over what you expected, but I think it's very important. I really appreciate it. My name is Gonzalo and I'm actually from Los Angeles. I moved here recently, moved back after attending Cal Poly and going to work in the field as a software engineer. I purchased this house about a month ago. I'm the last resident here. I have recently acquired a dog, and to be honest with you, the dog park would work most efficiently for me. But that's not the reason why I'm getting up. That doesn't matter to me at all, actually. The reason I'm here is because, unfortunately, we're in a terrible circumstance where we have the homeowners association pitted against investors, and in between we have, of course, the sellers, Cal Coastal. And I just wanted to give a little bit of my own perspective as being the last person there who's really not been affected at all, and not really too invested in the outcome. From my understanding, it seems like there were a lot of promises made on both sides from the LLC. And I can only really speak to my personal experience and what I've been able to pick up. But from what I understand, these plans were actually laid out earlier this year and they were not communicated until recently. So there's been a bit of a discrepancy between what the homeowners have been told and what has actually been happening as far as the amount of time that they've been given to try to decide what's going on, and the make or break situation that we're kind of all in. My personal take on this is that it seems like this has kind of been a series of events in the same style that have led up to this situation. And I'm not here because I personally want to decide what the situation or what the result will be tonight. I'm mostly here to just convey that I think, I'm sorry, I'm blanking. I'm very nervous right now. Basically, I just want to say that my main point is that I would also like to not affect the investors. I've met Corey. He seems like a very caring, dependable guy, and I don't want to hurt him. I would like for us to walk away with something even, but I don't think that anything that the homeowners association has been asking for is unreasonable out of nowhere or trying to hold anybody hostage. And I think that there's definitely a way of moving forward that doesn't involve make or break situations. Anyways, yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to speak to us? Okay, we're going to close for the second time. And bring it back to the Planning Commission for discussion. Dennis.
This question of staff, you've heard the conversation, you've heard kind of where the questions we've been asking and how they have been answered. Is there a way that things can be conditioned to as what has been said over and over from the audience is that there's some point there in the middle that everyone can reach and get together on. So is there something that the city can do through the conditions to help move that along?
Not through conditions. I don't think we can write a condition that says come up with the perfect answer and then do that because we don't know what that is.
Of the closure of the 4 units, we talked about the timing of either the new park or the new area. We've also heard comments just recently about plumbing the area for HOA to take over in the future at some time if they wanted to. So there's I think a lot of options that would be acceptable to people.
So I
Can
think
we accommodate them?
So I think in that case, we would be looking at breaking the approval into two pieces, approving the central common open space so that they can get started on that prior to final of the next 4 units that are up for occupancy in a couple of weeks. I think we'd want to discuss, because we did maybe here because of the barbecue areas, the need for water and a sewer connection, electrical and gas up in that area. So we'd want to discuss that and modify that condition as the commission sees fit. We'd then want to eliminate conditions related to that front dog park area, and have a condition that be brought before the planning commission prior to framing final for lot 23, which would give them some time to meet with the neighborhood and come up with some plans. I think if the commission has specific direction that they would like to give for what types of amenity or quality space design they would like to see towards that area, to help them on that path so that we don't run into the same sort of discussions for the next time, I think that would be very helpful for the applicant team. So I think that would probably be the best solution if that front space is not solidified enough to condition and move forward with at this time.
And so the park area is at today's meeting is an option over the community space. Sounds like in what you just said, there would be potential for both or one or the other.
So there are two separate spaces.
Uh-huh.
So the central space is here,
Yeah.
which has the plan for the patio where that unit was, and then some mulch under the tree. We talked about adding an additional tree, and then this space would have to come back for further refinement.
Which the community or the central area does not include those amenities at this moment.
It does not include a dog park or a community garden, but the central space is the portion with the barbecue, fire pits, and patio.
And that was approved originally.
No, that was not
Okay.
approved originally.
That's what I'm getting. Thank you.
Kelly, question for you is, does this subdivision already have natural gas plumb through it? It does? Okay.
There you go.
Okay. And is there a specific, do the current conditions of approval have a specific time that the building would have to be constructed, the community space building? Was
So
that?
there was a phasing plan that was approved as part of the project. Generally, we hold up final of the last unit in a phase until all improvements within that phase are done. I would have to look back at our records to see what phase that was in, but generally that's how that works. And my guess is the community building was part of the last phase with the live work units.
Mhm.
Chair, are you done with your questions for now or?
Other question, if we were to condition that a sink and sewage went to this patio space, new patio space, does that require specific building permit and sewer tap fees and all that?
I believe the sewer is a private sewer on the development site, so it wouldn't necessarily require sewer tap fees. They would just run the line into the private sewer line that runs around the loop of the project site. Regardless of whether there are utility lines, the patio requires a permit to check for slope and accessibility and cross slope and the retaining wall and all of those other things. So that would just be rolled into that singular permit.
Go ahead, Victoria.
Yeah, I don't want to break your train of thought. So going back to, we're having a deja vu every meeting between Commissioner Kane and Community Development Director Dunsmore. Idea, consequence. I'm just razzing, but truthful. So if we do this split approval thing where we are, and I'm trying to be really clear to very much understand this, have the 4 units sold on the condition that the landscape of the barbecue area is in place, that's part of it. And then adding a couple oak trees, that's one approval. And then coming back for this dog park solution, what's going to happen to that lot? That's a secondary approval. So if we do that, how much more would the applicant be paying for this secondary, meeting? Is it
Sure.
$3,000 like they quoted on this meeting, or is it more? No.
So their amendment application is kind of all inclusive, right? And so it is the commission that is requesting more information on a certain piece. And so that gets brought back and they don't have to do a separate application. There's generally mailing fees associated with coming to another hearing, a few $100s, but it would continue to be part of that same amendment application.
That seems feasible. Without just going trigger into, I'm ready to make a motion. I'm just I really want us to talk about that as probably the thing we need to talk about.
Yeah, and I think what I'm kind of thinking is doing what we need to do to allow those 4 houses to close. And and then saying that they can't frame those two new properties without having the Central Park place completed. I don't know what the effect of having the sewage and the utilities, what kind of timing that will attach to that. So in the interest of making sure that it is done for them, I just would like some more conversation about that because I don't know enough about putting utilities
Like
into
the
that
water
space.
drainage.
The
in
water
the
drainage,
Central barbecue.
the
area.
natural gas. I know nobody wants to lug propane around. But they could have a charcoal fireplace. I mean, a charcoal barbecue.
I don't think
Though we
natural
don't do
gas
those
is
anymore?
the issue. It's the water.
It's
That
the
seems
water.
to be the biggest, the drainage.
Yeah,
and the-
so some more conversation about that, whether we require that in this patio space. But if we don't get the natural gas barbecue in this area, was there three barbecues in this area prior on the original master plan?
So the original master plan had this more of like a deck and lawn park space area.
Okay. Did it have barbecues in there?
I don't believe so, no.
Because, I mean, that's the other thing is that if this stays sort of a natural meeting space and then we encourage the barbecuing to happen in the community building, I really like the idea of putting the utilities in there for a future building and then figuring out some sort of plan that they can have right now. And use those natural gas, but I think that's something that the HOA needs to discuss with the developer. In the interest of getting the Central Park done, I just want us to keep in mind that adding the utilities, adding the natural gas, adding the water, adding that, it seems like it would add more time to it. And we want this done for them. I think that's the thing I heard the most from Tyler, at least, was like, we want a place for our kids to play. Like,
Yeah.
we've lived here a year, we want a place to play.
And there was an element that I'm not quoting anyone on the mic, but what I heard between the lines was we want, if there was two decisions to be made, instead of holding over investors' heads and the community's heads of whether this community building can be funded by the current people that are responsible for it, we want local control to just do what we want with it.
Right.
And
Yeah.
let's not make the
Yeah.
seller or the investor. Let's just figure it out ourselves with their own HOA.
Yeah.
So
And so
that's
I
what I
think-
heard. Yeah.
And so I think the two things we need to do is approve I'm not making a motion, approve the central thing the way it is now. Maybe with or without the fireplace, I'm open to more discussion about that so that those 4 houses can close. Tie the completion of this central thing to the framing of the 2 new units. And then we set the lot 31 common building for a future meeting. And I would say, okay, it's September. So I would say like maybe either the early or late October meeting so that Mr. Lawton can attend an HOA meeting, hopefully, and they can come up with, I would say, at least 3 plans. One of just a naked lot, you just put the slab, the utilities, and then they can do something later. Something with that lot and maybe a dog run or community garden or something like that. And then, another plan with like all the things. Like, what is it that they really want there? If it's barbecue spaces, if it's the community garden, if it's the dog run, like whatever that is. And then let us see those ideas. Let us see and hear from the community about, which one they want.
I think we have to require that Mr. Lawton attend a HOA meeting before.
Can we do that?
I kind of want to.
I don't know if we have that power. That might be outside of our power. And Phil
Yeah.
was wrong. We can't do anything with
Yeah. Well, I know that there's a lot of timelines and everyone's got families,
Yeah.
kids, businesses. And it just seems like this is, we're getting into Thanksgiving and Christmas. And like, we also need you guys to collaborate for this to be the best win-win.
Yeah.
Like, and if you want us to make the hard decisions, that's what we're here for.
Yeah.
And we're like, okay, can we split this? Make sure you get funded to finish at least the central, zone where you can sunbathe, you can hang out and picnic, you can
Yeah.
and then get those 4 units done and then do the next thing.
Yeah.
So we don't want to see this all or nothing. That doesn't seem like a solution that's good for anybody right now.
Can I make comment?
Yes.
So staff had recommended that natural gas go to the grills, right? Is there a danger in doing that? You know, somebody comes in and accidentally leaves the gas on for days, nobody's paying attention, and
Same
I've
would be
done-
true of.
I've done that at my
propane.
house.
Only the propane would run out.
Except
Yeah.
propane will run out.
And well, yeah, I mean, either one. It's, I mean,
I'm just-
propane is the cheap version that's gonna have to be constantly changed out with tanks, and gas is the normal version. Most of these
Right.
installed fireplaces and barbecues would be natural gas. They'd be piped. And most of these would have water plumbed to these areas as well, if it's an actual common area amenity for a housing project of this nature. Those are the minimum requirements. So we're really cutting corners if you're just saying propane and there's no water. And I think some other comments were brought up. Just a track record in this project, just to let you know, everything has been done with inferior quality and different than what was approved on the original plans. Very, very poor example.
I can speak a little bit to your question there. So they have experience in the industry. So if it's individually metered, we have our assessment where everything is remotely monitored. So if they see a usage that's abnormal for over a certain amount of hours, they can send, like, we get orders all the time saying, hey, there's an abnormal usage, go there, verify, you know, we'll go knock on a door and make sure we have these orders all the time that come in at work. So if it's individually metered, it right away, they would find it pretty quickly. Also, the utilities are doing what we call aerial mapping right now. So we actually use RI scanners over, and we can see the plumes of methane from areas where people have left. So if a business has something that's burning really bad, or if there's like a really bad leak in a line in the middle of nowhere, we do visually see those. So
Can you state your profession again? This is.
I work for the gas company.
Yeah,
Work for
that-
Citadel
I
Gas,
just
yeah.
figured I would mention
Yeah,
that.
so
You got a pretty good opinion. of it.
Yeah, I have 16 years experience, well, just shy of 16 years experience in the company. But there's a lot of safeties and stuff that we do and check with that. It just depends on kind of how they have their lot layout. I know usually if it's something that's a community thing, they tend to try to separate meter those. So that's kind of the biggest thing. And also there's also requirements for us from the state that if there's an area where you have higher congregations, we put them on maps where we'll walk them sometimes quarterly with a actual scanner. So we have a lot of things that we do to proactively, and that's if it's a service line for us. But there's a fair amount of tools that do get quick response on this. But I do understand what you're saying. Like that's one of the most common things that we run into on those mapping orders, or people with the barbecue in the back and they leave it on, right? And then when they go over, they'll see the plume, or we'll get a order where the meter says, hey, you know, they're using 40 cubic feet an hour consistently. We know there's no pilots. So there are some tech savvy ways. A lot of it just depends on how they tap the line going to that.
Do we hear too from, I think there's a couple commissioners over here.
Did you guys have any comments?
What I'm struggling with is if we split the conditions and then this project fails down the road, then the second condition is never going to be met. And then the people are out the dog park. That's what I'm struggling with.
And I'm right there with you on that, because that's been what it looks like the shakedown of the project has been, that floating capital. They've always been chasing that bubble to try to keep it going, which I completely understand that, you know, the investing situation. So I was wondering if there's any way that we could condition that there's some dedication, like whether it be the lines installed already or something that at least guarantees that potential ability for the future. Because I'm thinking the same thing, because we may be having this conversation in a month now, the exact same thing, and it's still going to be the same situation where the HOA is not going to be happy and the buyer's going to have the same exact explanation.
Yeah, and I'm just having some personal skepticism on the completion of this. So I'd kind of like to see the homeowners at least get something at this point.
Jason? Comments?
Well, I'm enjoying this. You guys are asking some very thoughtful questions and this is a difficult situation because there's so many moving parts. I mean, COVID didn't help anybody. And I understand both sides of this, promises made, promises broken. So what I'm looking at is I'm looking at what's best for the people who've made an investment in their homes. They want their community. They want what they paid for. They want to see their kids out and playing in the yard, and they want to see their dogs happy, and then I also see the investors looking to see at least their principal back. So not to split the baby, but I think we should really work out a motion that is going to move this project forward as quickly as possible so that the families can get on with their lives and that we can get this investor, this builder out of this project as quickly as possible.
I agree with that sentiment. I think that no, this is a development that the city needs to be successful in. We need to see it be successful because we need more like this. We need more small home communities, and we don't want it to fail.
I do want to bring up one thing. I do take, a very big mental note if, Phil is definitely saying, hey, subpar materials A, B, and C, and this has been a consistency. That is something that I don't think I've ever heard Phil ever say. And with that being said, that does merit a consideration that we need to make sure that the people who are investing in this community and buying their homes here, that they are what is being roughly promised to them. They're at least getting in the ballpark of that. And we can argue about percentages of as far as what a home goes up and down on, but one of the biggest things of selling a home is it's actually you're buying into the person, right? That's selling to you. And so with Phil's commentary, I do think that Jason's mention of balancing, I mean, we need communities like this. We need to try to, as a city, provide, and most people working in this town can't afford a home in this town. So with that being said, I think Tori started a very good dialogue as far as I think splitting the project up in phases is a good way, but we should be strategic on it to make sure that it can allow one, if the HOA had to take over certain things and later that can be done, but also we need to be able to allow this development to get farther along.
It seems as though too, this isn't necessarily our decision, but an option could be that the seller just deeds a lot to the HOA, the commercial kitchen, building, dog park, whatever that thing is going to be. Maybe that's the HOA cut the losses of what this could be, or if it's going to get funded or if it's not going to get funded. I don't know as if that would be appropriate for us to say that has to happen for, that seems like, but if we don't think about that, then I don't know how that's going to end up at all. Like if it's just going to be withheld from them and then they don't get it at all. They don't even get an option. So,
I mean, to be black and white on this topic, I mean, they pulled out the contracts earlier for a reason. I mean, there's a reason why litigation and these concepts exist. And we saw Quaz right away. We saw when they had sold and I see this pretty commonly in these areas where you have a person who's a visionary and then you have the process, which is not so fun process. And with all the gears that are required, a lot of things happen. But I think with this situation, there are going to be some things that we can't mitigate out. I mean, the investors, most of them, I mean, they mentioned earlier that it was a moderate return. So, I mean, there's stuff that they've already been looking at that they were expecting. So, I think no matter what we do on this, there is going to be something on the back end that's not necessarily tied to the city. I think right now we need to go, how can we advocate for the people here? And how can we advocate best for what is going to benefit everyone all around? I mean, the project, it already fits all the findings because it's already in motion. So we don't have anything really on that we can really nitpick. So now we're going to try to pick the mess of getting the best for both parties.
Well, and I have to say this comment. This particular project we know is, yes, important to everyone in this room, but going forward on whether or not we as a city get to work with this continued developer to do these projects. And it seems like there's a lot of tension in the room around whether it was done well or not. And I get that that's a big ouch. That's a big ouch. And I'm one person, I'm one volunteer family that moved in this community. I've lived in this county all my life, but I decided to live in Atascadero from South County, and it was affordable for me to buy a home that was old, but we fixed it up, gutted it, figuring it out. And we also, I think, like as a city, like I don't work for the city. I don't get paid by the city. None of us here are getting paid even stipends. We're here because we want to see this community grow as a family-friendly community. So please understand that, yes, there's been a lot of high tensions and we want to see this done well, and so I think grief can make things come out sideways. That's all I'm going to say. I have to say that.
Did you want to make a motion?
Well, I'm a little hesitant. I know that I do. I've written down some things. Okay, do you want me to just go for it? What do you think, Tori?
I can't believe he asked you to make the motion.
Well, she said she
Maybe-
was ready to make a motion.
I said I was ready to make a motion like 20 minutes ago, but I wanted more conversation.
Oh,
What I really need though for this, okay, is one, it seemed like it was an obvious thing that we can't neglect. It seemed everybody was okay with planting a couple extra oak trees. Okay, that seems obvious. It's not a 1-for-1, but you got to count the fact that there's going to be some that take and some that don't take in the ground that got babied in a nursery, and then you go to plant them. And that was like my life is oak tree restoration before the work that I do now. So yeah, maybe we do more than, but I think that's important. I really don't think a promised delivery date with like the specifics in this letter that we received is going to make sense, but tying it to the 4 units and then splitting those approvals. Water, I'm okay without. It seems like it's going to overcomplicate. I want that personally for the people that have that unit that are surrounding it. And I see that that could create some big complications for even further things to get done. So I think I hear what you guys were saying earlier on that. Okay, I think I'm done.
inventory.
Can you show me the motion we have in front of us? And then I'll butcher it.
And then I will help you.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. Well, okay, so I make a motion that the planning commission adopt draft resolution amending Grand Oaks Master Plan of Development, resolution 2019-082, and approving amendment 23-0080 in part to revise the common open space and amenity plan based on findings and subject to conditions of approval. We would like to approve the central, how do I break this up?
So I think that the approval is only for the central common amenity space.
Correct.
And that any conditions or portions thereof that relate to the El Camino frontage amenity space be stricken from the resolution.
Correct.
And then we were going to add a
And-
couple conditions.
Yeah, and I would like the community part, the frontage part brought back. Do we think that late October is late enough? I'm gonna say second October
Second
meeting.
meeting in October.
That's 6 weeks for you guys to meet with the homeowners association. What do we, I don't have it in front of me. What do we have regarding the oak trees planting?
I think I heard consensus that we would plant 2 additional oak trees in the central open space area. Minimum, we usually do 15 gallon.
Okay, can we, okay, so let's do that. 2 oak trees, at least 2 oak trees, minimum 15 gallon in the open space. If you guys want to throw in another one, that's great. And I think take out the built-in barbecue.
Okay, so I think what is proposed currently in the plan, and of course you can modify work conditions, was the one built-in barbecue with the countertop space next to it.
Okay.
We had a minimum of 2 fire pit tables. And then there were the picnic eating tables.
Okay, I'm gonna leave those, but can we add a condition where like if the homeowner association wants to buy their own stuff, like, I mean, I don't want.
So I think we can add a condition that says, you know, like movable furnishings and amenities can be
Okay.
changed by the HOA in the future.
Great,
And won't be
yes.
in conflict with the approval.
Okay. And do we want natural gas? Yes, and natural gas for the barbecue.
Okay, and then, so I think for the condition where we talked about bringing it back the second meeting in October, staff would also recommend that, that if it is not brought back, that inspection past slab inspection, they can't get any inspections past their slab inspection on the other 2 units.
Correct.
Until it is brought back. Okay.
Yes. I don't actually have any feelings about the natural gas. So we can leave it propane. We'll leave it propane. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know if it's even possible. And I just really want to make it so that this gets done for them. So can we do like natural gas if possible? I don't feel like that. I feel like that's too wishy-washy. For the natural gas in the barbecue.
If you want them to do something, you need to condition them to do something.
It almost seems like, well, I haven't seen the utility plan, so I don't know how their utilities are run, but if they've already run all the natural gas and have the main lines in there, it might be hard. They might have to dig up the road to
Right.
to do that.
And I think all those houses are built around there. So I'm gonna, what?
I would assume that the building was being in this area and that was just removed, that there might be plumbing already in the ground for that building. Or is that?
I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, that building was never started and I don't even think permits were submitted for
But
the
if,
building.
utilities are there, the first things,
I don't think we can put wood burning fires in anymore. Oh. Just leave it a propane. Just leave it propane. Sorry, Kelly. Thank you for your patience and understanding.
Anytime. So I am here.
I do want to bring one thing up. If they did have plans for there to be gas, usually they'll have what they call a stub somewhere nearby. They may have a stub there. They just might not have a service riser in. So they may have a tap for it.
You're killing me. Look at Phil.
Okay, I know.
I don't believe that they have an HOA gas meter.
Okay.
I believe
Yeah.
they do have a water meter because of the irrigation, but I don't believe
Okay.
because of the past design. that
Yeah,
they
so
have.
let's just
Okay.
leave it propane and we'll just let the HOA figure it out. I'm sorry, HOA. It's the one thing I can't fix for you. Okay, so that's my motion. I hope y'all got all that. I hope you're taking notes.
Did you get all that, Kelly?
Oh, yes, we did.
Phil's shaking his head with disapproval at us.
Would you mind repeating that motion so
No,
I
I'm
can
not.
understand it?
You're freaking killing me. Are you serious? You want me to repeat that? Oh, Kelly, can you repeat it?
I
please?
am happy to
Thank you.
summarize. So the motion is to adopt a portion, phase one, we'll call them, of the amendments to the common amenity space area, specifically the central common open space. We're going to strike all conditions and portions thereof that relate to the El Camino frontage amenity space. And we're going to add a condition that the alternative design for the community building lot be presented at the second meeting in October in front of Planning Commission, and that in no case will an inspection past slab be permitted and completed on the other two units until that is brought back to Planning Commission for consideration. And then we're also adding a condition that a minimum of 2 new 15-gallon oak trees be installed within the central open space area.
Now, with that condition, does that allow them to close on those 4 units that are?
This
currently-
central space still, the condition is still there that needs to be completed prior to final of any of the additional units, including those 4. And I also wanted to point out that the applicant had some clarifications, which I think that we've talked through on the central open space. So it's a minimum of 1 community barbecue with the countertop. So I wanted to make sure that got in the motion, Annette. We were striking the fireplace. And we were leaving the rest in place.
Yeah, can we tie the completion of the Central Park to the framing instead of the completion of the 4
Those 4
units?
units, can we get the 4 units approved?
4 units able to
You
close?
can. That is
Okay.
potential 18 months and nothing would force them to move forward on construction.
I know, and I'm really, really hoping Ted doesn't make me regret putting this in the motion. So, but I'm gonna put that in the motion that
Okay.
any
Prior to framing
inspection
final.
prior, post slab inspection can't happen until the central common space is completed.
Do we have to put a specific condition in there that strips the current condition for those 4 units?
No, I think we are modifying that condition. So the central open space shall be completed prior to framing inspection for either lots 22 or 23
Yes,
or any other future.
or any
unit.
other lot, yes. I think that's all of my motion. So if somebody wanted to second that, that'd be great.
Oh.
Thank you.
Wow. Okay,
I'm
we
sorry,
have
second.
a first and a second. Victoria was the second. We have a roll call.
I
please.
second.
Okay. Vice Chairperson Keen,
Yes.
Commissioner Carranza,
Yes.
Commissioner Anderson,
Yes.
Commissioner Heath,
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes,
Yes.
Commissioner Schmidt,
I would like to have clarification, please, on the condition about the inspection. So our applicant has told us that he's ready to put rebar in and pour concrete within 2 weeks. After that inspection, he has, if he wants to put it off, he has a
Six-
year or
yes,
6
6
months.
months.
6 months. And then at the end of 6 months, the permit goes away.
The permit expires.
Okay.
They can ask for an extension at that point. Yep, they would have 6 months
Okay.
and they could ask for an extension, but I think at that time we would
Just want to
bring
make
that back
one
for.
comment, then actions speak louder than words. Yes.
Chairperson Vanden Eyck.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for sticking with us as we tried to work through all this. Okay. Thank you, everyone, for coming and spending time with us. Do we? Okay, can we have a director's report, please?
Lots of
October.
work ahead in our future. Next couple of months, a lot of policy work happening. You might have heard about the city council meeting last week where we talked in depth about the general plan.
Hold on a second. Excuse me, can you please leave the room if you're going to talk? Excuse me, please leave the room if you're going to talk. Thank you.
Last week was a big night for the general plan of the city council. A lot of great discussion on the update, a lot of good feedback from the community. It's really starting to shift gears now and move into a position where we're actually formulating plans. We're talking about land use. We're talking about things. So,
Go take a nice walk. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
So keep posted for some upcoming public outreach that's going to be happening in October and November, where we're going to start releasing all the things that we talked about at council. And then that'll lead us towards actually making a draft plan. So really important stuff coming up. Also want to let you know, at our next hearing, we're going to be talking about a very small, I'll call it a residential care facility. It's all already existing, but they kind of want to memorialize themselves as a care facility on Alameda. And then we're going to see another project that's mixed use, a little different than this one, but it's kind of this one's at Kerberville and Morrow Road, and it's got some commercial downstairs and primarily residential. Is mostly a residential upstairs. So and that's on the vacant property that had started to be developed by Kelly Gerhardt many years ago. There at Kerberville.
That's one behind Mallows.
Say again?
I have a question for you on that. And it kind of ties into what we just talked about, but this
Yeah.
whole mixed use thing. Have you seen downstairs being the residential and
No.
office? And is it possible?
Anything's possible.
Well,
but-
because of the seniors and the
Yeah.
availability, like you're basically obliging the cohort to be young entrepreneurs
Yes, the
and
difficulty.
able-bodied people.
Oh, yeah. No, I see that.
Right.
But
So,
the
like-
reality is in a commercial district, the predominant land use is supposed to be a commercial land use and the residential is secondary to that. And when there's more than 3 units, then it has to be accessible. You've got to get an elevator. The other issue here is commercial space is not so viable when you get above the ground floor. That's the difficulty. And when the public has to reach it, then it has to be accessible. So it makes it very challenging. Although that could occur, it doesn't occur because of those reasons. And because you can do, sort of that accessible unit elsewhere on a property. But now as we head into the future, this blur between commercial and residential is happening more and more. And the state is pushing us to say, you need to allow residential in commercial, and residential needs to, have less and less regulations and be more and more streamlined. So.
How does a dog park fit into commercial space then? Which is what
It's a
was-
residential accessory land use. I was thinking about that the entire time we were talking about it. It's not really a residential use because it's not housing, but it's an accessory to that residential use. But because this is a planned development and you've got the ability to play with the master plan of development in a pre-planned development,
But with the
there is some
underlying-
flexibility.
With the underlying zoning in the front area being commercial.
Yeah.
So
It
this
poses
was,
a
this
question.
was actually, we have like a general plan policy that allows for residential and mid-block areas, and the planning commission and council did make those findings for this particular project site, but it's generally not something that is encouraged in commercial.
And it already had a community room on it. So it already had a residential accessory use on it. So apples for apples. Anyway, we can't talk about the project anymore because we're closed on that item. So don't go back to that or else we'd be in a Brown Act violation. But we can talk about the future, not the past. And the future is looking busy because we also have 2 other big projects that we're working on that Kelly is spending all of her precious time on. One of those is objective design standards, which I know you're so anxious to see. Super fun. It's going to result in a lot of changes to our municipal code to put in place design standards for multifamily projects. And then we have, I'll call it CEQA thresholds, but it's a discussion about historic preservation, a discussion about creeks, a discussion about when we do precise plans on projects, trying to streamline our processes. And we had some grant funding to work on that. That's going to come your way as well. Both those things are also going to work their way to council. So we have a ton going on in addition to the fact that we're trying to hire a new planner. So we lost Mariah. You heard about that.
No.
But, yeah,
Why? Where'd she go?
she did yeah. She's around still, but doesn't want to work as a planner anymore for now.
What did you do, Phil?
I am very difficult to work
That
for,
does
ask
not
Kelly.
surprise me at all.
You know, look how mean I am.
I
So
was actually thinking as you were talking about, I was like, God, it's shocking how interesting and exciting these topics sound to me. After 4 years on the planning commission, I'm like, creeks, sweet. Planning codes, yes. Zoning, absolutely.
I mean, you wouldn't need a commission if you just let
No,
them slap
and-
people.
Right?
So lastly, Kelly reminded me of actual meeting dates for the general plan. It's October 10th. Wait,
October 7th during our Colony Days weekend, whatever form that celebration takes this year. We will have a table where we'll be disseminating sort of the same information that we did at council, probably augmented with a little bit of new information that we have. And then the following weekend, which I believe is Saturday, the 14th, we're going to be at the Lake Pavilion most of the morning into the early afternoon, inviting anybody to stop by, pulling people that are walking by the lake in because we want everybody's opinion. And that is a great place on a Saturday to just find a large group of people that don't normally have time to show up to meetings during the week.
Cascadero soccer games. I'm just throwing it out there. I
She's
have the
absolutely right.
Saturdays.
Colony
Get 'em there.
Parks. Colony Park from 10 to 2 is packed.
They're not there for anything. Oh,
Go get your
Okay,
dog.
so we're going to close
Like
out the
Gary
meeting.
Dog.
Clean miniature Phil with glasses. just
Well-
eating chickens.
Thanks, Phil.
Yeah. So
Uh,
do tell everybody about October 14th, because we want as many people there as possible. We're hoping to have some food. We're hoping to have a kids corner, so kids are absolutely welcome and can be entertained while you're there. Yes, we will put it out on social media. We will get you guys information on that. This is really going to be the crux of our public input to determine what our alternatives are, where our growth areas are, and what those areas potentially look like. We're hoping to make it very visual and accessible to everybody in the community to come participate. So please let everybody know. They can stop in for 5 minutes. They can stop in for 4 hours. We'll take either one.
Sincerely think those soccer games though on the both Saturdays, they're running throughout the morning all the way till like 2:30. And they're at Colony Park and then also Paloma Creek, I think, at the end.
So. Yeah.
Soccer moms are involved, okay? 2 of them are on this. commission.
Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody. We're gonna adjourn until our next meeting.